So, all right, let's get started.
Let's do it.
Ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you?
It's time to flip a coin and find out.
Well, we need to know what we're calling it for here.
We're calling it to see who's got the best sports knowledge here on the coin flip with Martin Kelly
and Jacob Zimmerman.
Flip it again.
Ha! Heads!
What's up?
What it do? Welcome into episode 45 of the Coin Flip Podcast. Martin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome today, Jacob. We got episode number 45 in the books. We've been averaging about 20 to 30 views per an episode, so appreciate everybody who listens to our episode. Keep listening.
Thank you.
Coin Flip Podcast, me and Jacob, every week we talk about some sports here on our podcast, and somehow everybody keeps listening and says, yeah, we'll come back another week.
And we're going to try to spread it out to even more platforms, so it's going to be easier for everybody to listen.
Exactly. Jacob, now before I get to the rundown, actually I'll add it into the rundown. NBA segment, we got a lot to talk about. Free agency, trades, everything that's going down in the NBA world. Then in the NFL, part 2 of our NFL season previews of the NFC and AFC West. Then in other sports, we're going to touch on NASCAR real quick. They might be back. And then I got part 2 with the rant. Now that I got all of that out of the way, and not saying that that wasn't important at all, to give the rundown to our fans so they know what's coming up in the show is very important. Very important.
Of course.
But Jacob, I want to start with this for just about 5 minutes on this. Did you hear about LeBron James and the Space Jam and the director hating on the movie this past week?
I have not heard anything about this, Martin.
So basically, you know how LeBron James came out with Space Jam 2, the new updated version of the original movie that was made with Michael Jordan in 1996 about Space Jam. Now, the original director of that movie has come out and says, A, the movie sucks, the new updated version of Space Jam 2, and B, he was upset that he wasn't asked by LeBron James's posse, meaning probably Rich Paul and whoever was the new director, did not get asked to come back and recreate the second movie of the original movie that he created with Michael Jordan. Okay. So everybody's up in a little bit of like, haha, see, even the original director does not like the sequel to the new movie.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Martin. I have not seen the movie. So
I was about to ask, have you seen the movie?
I need someone to go see it. Anyway, but as for the movie, I cannot give my actual opinion on how good it was because I have not seen it. But I do know that it is not meant for adult entertainment.
Of course not.
It's meant for like kids. It's meant for little kids, you know? So us adults might find it corny, stupid, whatever. But the little kids, they're probably going to love it regardless. They see LeBron James. They see cartoon characters. Come on, guys. Win. But for the director, I can understand where he's coming from. I can understand why there's a little salt in the wound, because if you had this really famous, great movie and your name is tied to it and they didn't even think about you to come back at all, I mean, that's got to hurt a little bit. LeBron wants to do things his own way. He's always done that from step one in every facet of his life. But with that being said, I can understand how the director feels. Yeah. And I don't know if I would come out and trash the movie, but behind the closed doors, I would be, oh yeah, I could do a lot better.
Yeah. So you and I got to find some dates and let's go watch the Space Jam 2 movie. We got to go do that. All right, let me hit this NBA segment button. Speaking of LeBron James, we got to talk about the new added addition members to his own Lakers squad team and many more in the NBA segment.
Doncic pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Doncic wins the game at the buzzer! It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? No! Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win it! They win it! 3 and 2. LeBron to win the game. He does! He does! The ball comes in. Cody's got it. Above the three-point line, taking a little bit of time. One dribble pull-up. For the win, he's got it! The Lakers win! McKee gets it in the middle for the win! With 2, Wade puts it up for the win! Yeah, baby!
Oh my, we are witnessing one of the great players to ever play in this league. And man, I hope it lasts for another 7, 8, 9 years, baby.
7, 8, 9, 10, 15, year 19 for LeBron, year 14 for Russell Westbrook, year 13 for Steph Curry, year 14 for Kevin Durant.
Okay, you looked it up, huh?
And year 17 for Chris Paul. So just to remind us of our legendary, awesome superstar players we grew up with are now getting old.
Just remind us. You shove it in our face every time.
I mean, I'm just
you give
saying.
It to us, though.
I'm saying we got to enjoy those moments because, Jacob, you and I are getting to the point where I don't really remember LeBron James's rookie year, but I remember for a vivid, like I see it today. I remember the day Derrick Rose got drafted by the Bulls. I remember the first time they won that triple-double against Boston in the first round of the playoffs with that 2-7 seed matchup. And I remember when they lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers in that second round after they were up 2-1. I remember that entire era. So that will stick with me till the day I die. But we're getting up there, buddy. We're not young anymore, man.
We aren't in terms of children, yeah.
No, we're not. Young. So let's talk about this NBA trade and free agency. I know you were all over your phone watching for Woj bombs and other trades that went down. Do you have a list of top 5 good ones that you saw from the free agency and trade deadline?
Of course, my man. I do. Always got the list. Number 5 for the good free agency acquisitions and team moves. Blake Griffin going back to the Nets. We all know the Nets have the big 3, KD, Kyrie, and Harden, excuse me. But we know Blake plays a huge role onto this team because what do the Nets not really have? They don't really have bigs and good bigs. DeAndre Jordan is getting pretty old. And they also brought in Patty Mills too. I like the Nets picking that up. I'm kind of throwing those together in together at number 5. But Blake to the Nets, again, I think it's good to see him run it back. I think the chemistry with this team is going to improve, and that could be dangerous. That was really my only concern, that and injuries with the Nets for their dynasty that they could potentially have. If they get key contributors like Blake Griffin to stick around and keep playing and want to take lesser contracts,
right?
When they're better than that, that's huge, and that's why they made the list at number 5.
The only thing I'm going to add to that, I'm not trying to cut you off, but Patty Mills helps out their bench situation because they had no bench in that playoffs. So,
for real.
And Patty Mills, 2-time NBA champion, can score at least 14 off the bench. That helps a lot.
Number 4 is, I think this is going to surprise you, Martin. It's Eric Pascal to the Jazz. Why? Because, let's face it, if you live in Utah, you know exactly why the Jazz lost the playoffs, and it was because they had a lead, and even with Kawhi Leonard going out, Rudy Gobert, a defensive player of the year Rudy Gobert, was somehow a defensive liability in the playoffs because he cannot guard these really good ball handlers around the perimeter.
Shocking.
And Eric Pascal is actually really good at that. He can guard all 5 positions on defense, and to have him back up Rudy in some situations late in game, put Rudy on the bench and put Pascal in the game, I think that is the reason why I have them at number 4. But also, the Jazz improved their team. I mean, they got Whiteside. If they can get anything out of Hassan Whiteside, that's a plus. They got Conley back, and they picked up Rudy Gay to add to their forward depth. Number 3 is, once again, combining these two together, DeRozan and Lonzo to Chi-Town. I know you're going to talk about this one plenty, so I'll save it.
You already know where I'm going with this.
I'll save it a little bit on that, but what I will say for the Bulls is you got the GOAT. You got Alex Caruso. He's gonna be a great backup point guard.
Oh yeah, totally.
To Lonzo. I can't say enough about Alex Caruso.
I can't wait for this one.
But number 2, Lowry to the Heat.
That's big.
Lowry to the Heat is huge. You could really have this at number 1. But it's not just Lowry. It's getting P.J. Tucker, re-signing Duncan Robinson, Keith Morris, and they also are getting Depot back. Can he potentially be healthy? I think this team is easily a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, and not only do they have a lot of talent, they have many dogs, as P.J. Tucker would say. That's why he went and joined Miami.
We'll talk about this next week because I want to present this question. Who is the greatest Toronto Raptor in all the questions? Because you got to add Kyle Lowry, You got to add Kawhi Leonard, you got to add Vince Carter, and you got to add Tracy McGrady to that conversation. We'll talk about that next week.
So the Heat potentially getting the greatest Raptor of all time.
Possibly.
That's still in the back end of his prime, with Jimmy still in his prime and an improving Bam Adebayo each and every year. And don't forget about Tyler Hero. Maybe he bounces back. If everything goes right,
he did struggle last year a lot.
They could win the championship. Right. And at number 1 is the Lakers' total reconstruction.
Of course.
They got Westbrook, but they got him for cheap, and that was the important thing.
Cheap? You're paying him over $30 million to be your point guard.
That is not the point. We traded for him. We didn't sign him. We traded for him. He has a fat contract, but we hardly gave up anything at all, and we got so much shooting. Not just a little bit. We got Monk, Bazemore, Ellington. A lot of these guys that we picked up, Ariza, shot over 40% from 3 last year on a decent amount of attempts per game. And Martin, playing next to LeBron and Westbrook, these shooters are going to have loads and loads and loads of space. There's no excuse. We know the lights are going to be bright, and that is the only problem. We've seen players like Danny Green really feel the pressure in LA with LeBron there, and let's hope that doesn't happen to these new shooters that I'm really excited. I wouldn't have been as high on this Westbrook deal, but as soon as I saw us get Melo and all these guys who can come in and shoot, Melo shot 40% from 3 last year. All you need to do is sit in the corner, Melo, and wait your turn, and when it comes, hit it at a 40% clip, and we will win that chip. That's my top 5.
I can't wait. I'm not in a mean way. I mean this in a funny way. I cannot wait until the trade deadline and the All-Star break when the Lakers are maybe 500 and are behind a little bit in the standings, and I play this back of your.
They were first in the league before LeBron and AD went down. So
exactly. That's what. All right. Never mind. I guess my 5 real quick top 5 good trades or good signings. I got to give credit. I liked Collins and Trae Young coming back to Atlanta. I think that solidifies their core right there as some of their main players that they got to have. Collins stepped up in the playoffs big time. Yes, he got outplayed in those couple games when he was going up against Milwaukee in the conference finals, but I don't think he adjusted well to not having Giannis on the floor. So when he's the only legit big man and he's got to go up against Middleton, I think that was a bad matchup, so I think he got exposed because of that, so he kind of dimmered down in that playoffs. And Trae Young, is there anything to say about Ice Trae? He's deserved this. He's the rock. He's the man. He's the reason why Atlanta made it that far. If he wasn't on that team, Atlanta might have bounced out of the first round to New York. That's probably as good as it was going to get. So I got that. I got another one here that I think will be okay, and I think it's going to be good. Kemba Walker to the New York Knicks. I think he's not an A-plus player. Obviously, he's not Zion. Obviously, he's not AD or KD or the big-time names. But Kemba can still play point guard. Kemba can still work and manage an entire team around him. He can still be that type of leader. I just don't know what went wrong in Boston. I don't know what goes wrong with Boston and big-time players or point guards because they had issues with Rondo. They had issues with I can see him in my head. He's the one that shot the famous shot from Miami. Ray Allen. They had problems with Kemba. They had problems with Kyrie, and now they have problems with Kemba. Something about point guards in Boston does not add up. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't add up.
Boston point guard curse.
Seriously. Number 3 is CP3 staying in Phoenix. I like it. It's at a good price tag. It's not too expensive for Phoenix.
You have this on your good list.
I have this on my good list.
Okay. Stay tuned.
How can you call that a bad contract? Anyway, you talk about that on one. Number 2. I got to give it up to you. You got this one right. But I'm waiting for the collapse, and the collapse will come. It will come. Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan to Chicago. It's a good signing for now, but the collapse will come. I will be right about Lonzo Ball.
I agree with you.
I will be right about Lonzo Ball.
Not on Lonzo, but on the Bulls.
He's a bust. I don't care what anybody's got to say. He's a bust. And number 1, I also agree with you. CP3, not CP3, Russ to Los Angeles, I think, is a good trade because you get that point guard that can handle the ball and handle all the energy that...
I'm so confused. You just dogged me for like last 5 minutes. And anytime we're not doing the podcast, but then you have Russ to the Lakers as your number one acquisition?
Just Russ. Not everything else the Lakers did, just Russ. Just Russell Westbrook's trade to the Lakers, to me, is good because Russ...
I'm glad you come to your senses.
Russ has all the energy. Russ has all the points, all the rebounds, etc. He does all that, okay? That's good for that sense because it allows LeBron James to rest on the bench, not waste all of his energy, and in a pick-and-roll situation and in the transition situation, him and AD work out, okay? I agree with that. But the problem is, and again, I will put an asterisk on this one, the problem is when Russ runs out of energy or he's out of funk or he does not have his shooting or he does not have his passing or he just, obviously he doesn't care about defense. When that doesn't happen, then what? That is the question the Lakers are going to have to figure out. What's your bad? Let's get this over with.
The bad. Getting back to me for the bad. Number 5. It is a decision to not make a decision from the Milwaukee Bucks. They let PJ Tucker go. Now, PJ Tucker didn't play starter level minutes, but there were times where he was a real key contributor deep into the playoffs, and we saw him guard KD. We saw him take on the best perimeter scorer on the other team a lot of the time, and pretty much every time when he checked into the game, even though they have Giannis Antetokounmpo, the defensive player of the year this year, on their team. That's how good of a defender PJ Tucker can be, and they let him walk. And when you win a championship, the worst thing you want to do is let someone walk. We saw it with Miami. They didn't win, but they got to the finals. They let Jay Crowder go. That ended up being a bigger loss than maybe they expected. They ended up rebounding. We'll see if the Bucks can keep the same energy this year or if they'll need to go get another guy next year to try to win a chip. Number 4, the Lakers. I actually have them on this list too, and here's why. They do not have any perimeter defense. That is the problem with this team. They have everything else, but no perimeter defense whatsoever.
Shocking.
LeBron is your best perimeter defender. And
I thought Trevor Ariza was a defender.
Here's the thing. Trevor Ariza in his prime. Yeah, great defender on the perimeter. But right now, I don't know, is he 40, 39, 36?
He was there the last time y'all won a championship. I mean, not the last time, but when Kobe was around, he was there.
So that just goes to show how long Trevor Ariza's been in the league. Like you always mention with the guys you say at the beginning of our segment. But I think he's a little too old. Melo, he was never the best perimeter defender in his prime anyway, so right now he's not good at all. Bays and Ellington, maybe some spurts here and there. But I think our best perimeter defender this year probably will actually be THT, just because he's younger than I am, Martin, which is crazy to say. He's 20 years old right now. And Talen Horton-Tucker is going to have the energy, those young legs. And with all the talent on this team, let's face it, Talen Horton-Tucker should just look around and be like, I'm going to be that dude. I'm going to be that lockdown dude on this team. So now number 3 is the length of Curry's contract. The length. Okay. And here, let me explain why.
So you don't like the length?
Let me explain why. I don't like the length.
Are you still on this? Are you still on this that he should leave Golden State?
Not that he should leave, but he should put pressure and he should keep his options open. Here's why. The Warriors' future is very unknown. Draymond Green is not going to be the level of player he is right now forever. And Klay Thompson, he can come back and still shoot lights out. But is he going to be the same defender he was? Is he going to still have the same quickness laterally and getting up and down the floor? And will he have some nagging injuries here to come that will cost them into this contract Curry signed for 4 more years? That's going to go to what, 2025, 26? Something
At least.
And so that basically says the rest of Curry's prime is with Golden State. I respect it. I respect the hell out of the loyalty, Martin. I really do. But at the same time, when you're at a position like Curry is to potentially become the greatest point guard of all time and get into that top 10 and even top 5 potentially.
Wait, you don't have him in your top 5?
Steph, of all time?
Of all time.
Not point guards, just all-time players. He's not a top 5 player of all time, but he's number 2 on my all-time
Wait.
guards
You don't have
list.
him in your all-time either?
He's not in the all-time top 10. No, he's not. He's
All right.
the second greatest point guard ever, though. Okay. And so if he wants to get into my list, then he needs to win another ring.
Okay.
And another Finals MVP would be, one Finals MVP would be nice. Chris Paul is my number 2. The length of the contract, once again, but not because of him needing it to win a ring, but because, well, he does. But because he's not going to be that good at 41. He's not going to be that good. Not that I really see it, but I can see some flashes here and there of Chris Paul showing some signs of age. And I think 4 years from now, that's going to be a bad contract, potentially like John Wall's right now. And then number 1, the 76ers got Andre Drummond. Thank you for taking on that. We'll take Dwight Howard right back. He was way better. And I'm thinking, as the offseason goes on, Martin, Daryl Morey might not let go of Ben Simmons. And here's why. Because he thinks that Ben Simmons is really worth something. And based off of what everybody just saw in these playoffs, he's still a really good player. But as far as deep playoff basketball, he really gets exposed in the playoffs for not being able to shoot a 10-foot jump shot. That's right, a 10-foot jump shot. And so I think a real possibility is Simmons starts the season on Philadelphia. And if that happens, an Andre Drummond, Ben Simmons pick and roll is why this is the number 1 bad signing.
That was a pretty good list. I'll give you that. All right. I only have 2 because considering time okay. and all that. So I only have 2 here. Number 2 on this list of mine is Alex Caruso to Chicago. I hate this for every reason, just as much as I cringe to hate on the fact that I have DeMar DeRozan and Lonzo Ball on my team as well. I just don't like it. I don't think Alex...
You are unlike any other Bulls fan I follow.
What does Alex Caruso add besides defense? He's not that explosive off the bench. He's not that big
He's a decent three-point shooter.
Okay, a decent three-point shooter. All right, go stand in the corner and wait for the ball.
That's what a ton of guys get paid even more to do in this league is shoot threes decently and play good defense, and they get
I don't like
really
the signing. I don't like the signing. I'm sorry. It's not just because he's a Chicago Bull. It's because I just don't look at Alex Caruso as a player in the game that deserves that big of a contract. If you gave him a 2-year contract for like $10 million, okay.
You have 2 of the 5 best in-game dunkers in the league on your same team.
I don't need dunkers. I need championships. I need wins.
Oh,
I am tired of watching.
You guys locked yourself in for a lot of first-round exits.
I am tired of watching Zach LaVine being wasted on the Chicago Bulls team by terrible management and terrible drafting and terrible coaching. Okay, if they do not get this right, oh my God, I'm going to go on another rant. Okay, and then number 1 is the Kawhi Leonard news. This needs to go away. I am actually kind of tired of Kawhi Leonard.
I think a lot of people are.
Not tired of him playing. I love watching him play because there's just something about his game that just is different. I don't know what it is. Him playing in the pick and roll or his mid-range shooting or his
mid-range pull-up.
His defense. I love it, okay? But I am tired of this anticipation of we're waiting for his decision as if it's LeBron's decision or when Michael Jordan said he was coming back. It's not even to that level. It's not even a level of concern. Kawhi Leonard is as fragile as a Fabergé egg, okay? You can touch that Fabergé egg and it will crack, okay? I am tired of this news, man. I get it. He turned around the Raptors. He turned around the Clippers. He hasn't won a championship with the Clippers because he broke his knee again. And in the Raptors, we can say it all day. If KD was in the finals, they don't win that championship. Blah, 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 blah. But I am tired of hearing Kawhi Leonard, okay? I am done with it. End it all. Clippers, I don't know what's going on with you guys. Just
what I will say is
just go away.
There have been reports he's expected to re-sign. But I think it's very interesting for sure because we have no idea when Kawhi Leonard is next going to play.
He's not going to play until next season. You're telling me he's going to spend 8 months of this offseason and during the season to come back in April and maybe push a Clippers team at the bottom of the standings to the playoffs.
So it was a torn ACL?
Torn ACL.
But I don't think it was a full tear of an ACL.
I guarantee it was a full tear. He just didn't tell anybody.
We will. Yeah, that's a good take right there, actually. But we will see. We will see.
All right, let's move on to the NFL segment. We got a lot to talk about.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
Sanders still on his feet. Sanders is gone. Barr with daylight and time goes for the whole thing. Touchdown! Green Bay leads. Brett Favre.
Montana, Rice, he's open. No flags are down. Touchdown.
And here's a sack. Lawrence Taylor comes over the top.
Leon left. No.
DeLone fires to an open Smith. Steve Smith is going to go all the way. No flags down. Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
6 seconds. Murray heaves it downfield. It is. Oh, it's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins.
He did what?
He did what?
DeAndre Hopkins, that snag was so great. That was one of the best plays we will see of the 2020s.
I don't even know we're going to see him play this year because he hasn't gotten a COVID shot. And
DeAndre Hopkins.
And
well, they're not. Are they requiring the vaccine? They're not requiring it, but they're saying you can't have anybody get COVID.
They're basically saying if you don't have all your COVID shots, you might cost your team a chance to play a game, which might cost your team paychecks, which means if there's one player on your team that decides not to get vaccinated for whatever reason that is.
But you can still get COVID-19 with the vaccine. So, and moving on.
Anyway, moving on from that.
My season previews do not have anything to do with COVID.
All right, let's talk about the season previews. And Jacob, let's kick this off here. We got to talk about the NFC West and the AFC West. And you have the responsibility, speaking of Hopkins, to cover the Rams and the Cardinals. What should we expect from these teams this year? And on top of that, let me just break the news here. Obviously, people are going to be glued to their televisions. I'm going to be glued to my television this Saturday, not tonight. The Hall of Fame game is on tonight with the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Dallas Cowboys. The Steelers are favored by 2. The Cowboys are coming as underdogs at +2, so that's just a Hall of Fame game tonight. But I will be glued to my TV this Saturday to watch the Hall of Fame speeches because it's Calvin Johnson and it's Peyton Manning going to be the top 2 main ones towards the end of the night. So I'm going to be glued to my TV watching that tonight. But Jacob, continue with what you were going to say.
That's what's up. But anyway, Cardinals. Starting off with the Cardinals, back into the NFC West, the toughest division in football. Martin, I'm going to give you a sneak preview. Every single team in this division will finish above 500.
Ooh. Okay,
I think this will be the first time in NFL history. It should be.
Well, will we get all 4 teams in the playoffs?
No.
We have 7 spots.
Oh, no. Still no. It's not going to happen. There's no way, no how.
I actually like that. That was smart of you.
But I had to pick it, Martin, because the pieces are all in order. I talked about the 49ers. I talked about the Seahawks. I think I had the Seahawks at 10-7 and the 49ers at 11-6.
That's rare.
Could be wrong about that, but that should be what it is. Last year, the Cardinals went 8-8. In 2020, 3rd in the division. Since then, they have picked up Malcolm Butler, J.J. Watt, and A.J. Green, as well as a bunch of other guys. Now, these are all really good pickups, but they have something in common. They are all on the back end of their prime. You could argue J.J. Watt is out of his prime, and the same thing with A.J. Green. But nevertheless, these players provide great roles in the locker room, and with a team like the Cardinals, who are clearly trying to win, as well as the Rams, which I'll get into, they're going to go out and they're going to definitely take these guys onto their team. Now, some of the key guys that these guys are joining, Kyler Murray, Kenyon Drake, Hopkins, Kirk, and Larry Fitzgerald. Patrick Peterson will no longer be back on the team. But as for those guys, I think this is a really good core, as well as some vets. Watch out for this team if they figure it out. This year, in 2021, I got them going 9-8. I want this team to improve. I really do. I think they're one of the funnest teams in the league, the whole league. They're going to bump up 1 win from the previous year. We're going to see if Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray can get it figured out. But a question going into this year is, can Kyler Murray finally pop as that MVP candidate that we know he might become? There's a lot to think about with this team, and I'll say it for this team, I say it for every single team in this division. They would win the division if they were in another division. Moving on to the Rams. Last year they went 10-6 and lost to the Packers in the divisional round of the playoffs. And since then, Martin, this was probably the best acquisition of any team in the NFL, getting Matthew Stafford to come on board. It's time to shine. It's time to prove, Stafford, are you really that guy? Were you really an MVP in Detroit and they were just that bad? Were you really that good and you covered it up?
Huh?
We will see. The Sean McVay offense is going to open up hella with Matthew Stafford. Cam Akers is out at running back the whole season, which is unfortunate. But
torn ACL hurts.
The Rams are the ultimate win-now team if you look at the past couple of years of what they've done to get key talent. They'll trade anything and anybody to get who they want. They traded Michael Brockers. They re-signed Leonard Floyd and even signed Deshaun Jackson.
Yep.
Very common target for teams who want that one last piece at receiver to try to win a Super Bowl this year. They're going to go 9-8. Why are they going to go 9-8? Because the Seahawks are good, but mainly it's because the 49ers are coming back. I'm banking on the 49ers being the reason, and really the only reason why the Rams don't finish with as good of a record as they did last year or better. I believe in all of these teams in this division, and that's why it was so tough to do these season previews and put some of these teams perhaps below what I really wanted to. So I got the Cardinals going 9-8. I got the Rams going 9-8. And I beat it like a drum. I would have them going better if they were somewhere else.
I'm just stumbled by the fact that, did you just say Matthew Stafford didn't matter in Detroit?
No, I said, was he really that MVP in Detroit?
Of course he was. He's the only reason why they had more than 5 wins a season.
I was saying, was he really that MVP just covered, like, did he cover up how bad they really were?
Yes.
And if he was on an average team, he would be the NFL of the National Football League.
He was on below average teams. He didn't have a rusher average.
So we're gonna see this year if he wins MVP or something. That'll just go to show how bad the Detroit Lions were.
Everybody knows that. Everybody knows how terrible the Lions are. That's not like a new.
I know, but they're not a college team.
No, but it's like, never mind. I get your point. I get what your point is. It's almost like an Aaron Rodgers was Rodgers better than the actual team itself, and that's why they were that good. If you take Rodgers off those Green Bay Packer teams, are they that good? Was he that much of an important player? Matt Stafford was. Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson are the only two things in that town that only mattered. So, all right. To your point about the Cardinals and Rams, I have the Rams going 11-6. I think they'll be better. I think defensively they'll be good. Aaron Donald still scares people. Jalen Ramsey still scares people. So they'll be okay on that back end of the defense. Offensively, I agree with you. The question marks are around Matt Stafford. Was the trade right? Was it Goff or was it McVay? We're going to find out, because if Goff has a better season than McVay and Jared Goff's in Detroit and McVay's in Los Angeles.
Well, I don't think that's how you judge it. I think you judge it by how much better does Stafford play than Goff did last year.
I will judge it on all three of those. I'm going to judge it on Stafford, I'm going to judge it on Goff, and I'm going to judge it on McVay, because McVay's the head coach. And if you can't get your message across to your starting quarterback, then you got a problem as a head football coach. To the Cardinals, I say flip what you said to 8-9. There's just something about Arizona and starting off so hot and just so aggressive coming out of the box. And then they have those slow Novembers and Decembers where you're like, do they still have a chance? Are they
I think a lot of that is schedule.
It is, but we'll see how good they really are. There's a whole lot of talent on this team. They're still going with the little munchkin at quarterback, a.k.a. Kyler Murray.
Wow.
He's 5'8". Don't tell me he's 5'10" because you're all lying. So, but the point is, we'll see how good this team is. They have Hopkins, they have Murray, they have Watt, they have all the talent. Can they put it all together? They still have the legendary Larry Fitzgerald for some reason. I don't know why he still sticks around. I would have retired a long time ago, man. I would have taken.
Why do you think he's still playing, man?
Because he likes playing.
Wants that ring.
Yeah, so I understand that. I don't know if it's going to be in Arizona, but I say 8-9. All right, let me cover my side of this, doing the AFC West. So I got to cover the Chargers and the Raiders here. Let me cover the Chargers first. The Chargers is going to be interesting because they stole coaching staff members from the offense and defensive side of the ball from the Los Angeles Rams. So they have that Rams mentality of high-power defense, high-power offense. We're going to try to score up and put up as many points as we can on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. You got Justin Herbert on the offensive side of the ball with their offense. They have Melvin Gordon, a decent running back. They have, I'm trying to remember his name, the wide receiver. It'll come to me sometime later. They have receivers. They have a system in the offense. They need an offensive-minded coach to get this team over the hump. Their biggest questions are on defense. They have no Melvin Ingram. They only have Joey Bosa. They lost all their draft picks that they had before, Kevin King and a couple other guys in the back end of their defense. So they have question marks at linebacker. They have question marks at corner and safety. Can they get better at those spots? Do they have some diamond in the rough that's going to surprise everybody this season on the defense side of the ball? I cannot wait to see. I got the Chargers going 10-7. Herbert will be the reason they get 10 wins because he's going to have those games where he outslugs and outscores the entire team by just his throwing ability, by which I'm telling you right now, I want to see a matchup between Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and
Josh Allen.
All in a just throwing. How far can you throw the football?
Josh Allen wins.
It's Patrick Mahomes. I'm telling you, it's Patrick Mahomes. But point is, Chargers 10-7. Over to the Raiders. There's too many question marks with this team. Offensive line-wise, quarterback-wise, does John Gruden trust Derek Carr? Is there a trustability at that spot? Because you got to have trust. John Gruden comes from an old-school West Coast offense, and he also likes to be really old school, like John Harbaugh at Michigan, with running the I formation, double tight end formations, old school stuff that does not fit the modern game anymore, and it's kind of holding the Raiders back. They have had injuries on the defensive side of the ball last year. They lost some key positions at safety and at corner, at linebacker. Can they get healthy on that side of the ball? We'll see what happens. I think Vegas Raiders go 7-10. I just don't know if John Gruden likes the modern game, and I feel like he's fighting it more than he's trying to learn from it. And because he's fighting it, his team is fighting that, and their identity is what? Just the Raiders? If their identity is just the Raiders, that will sell you tickets. That will get people to the stadium regardless if you go 0-17 or you go 17-0. But what is their true identity as a football team on the field going up against the best teams in the game? That's my question. So 7-10.
8-9, 9-8.
Okay.
One of those two. I think the Chargers, I would probably pick the same thing, 10-7.
Okay.
I think the Raiders have a little bit of momentum from last year. Just a little bit, yeah.
From what?
They beat the Chiefs, right? They beat the Chiefs.
That's one win.
They beat the team that won the Super Bowl in the last couple of years, and they got to the Super Bowl last year.
My Bears beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That doesn't. I don't think that means anything. We got away with the fact that Tom Brady didn't know it was fourth down. I mean, I got away with that one. So you catch a team off guard anytime. You know that in the NBA, like if the Cleveland Cavaliers somehow upsetted the Lakers, that doesn't mean the Cleveland Cavaliers are good enough to beat the Lakers on every night, right?
Not every night, but I mean, it's something. It's something. It was the only game in the division that the Chiefs lost.
True. Okay. I'll give you that.
So that's why I'm saying something. And plus, what I'm really saying is that the Denver Broncos are going to be so bad. So you see my point?
There's no lower ceiling to go besides the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are the bottom of the barrel until they trade for Aaron Rodgers. They're bottom of the barrel.
Now you're picking it up.
All right, let's cover some other sports here. We got a couple things to cover. Let's get it.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500.
And the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores.
There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up.
Yes! With Konerko up, and he rips one into left. Konerko, grand slam.
As we're talking smack to each other and outside of the break there. Let's cover some other sports. We only got one thing to cover today, Jacob, is NASCAR. They've been on a 2-week hiatus. They've been on a break, man. They've been on vacation. Why? You may ask. Well, there's this thing called the Olympics that's going on, on the other side of the world. And speaking of Olympics, the men's basketball team, they'll be in the preliminary gold medal round against France. So they're probably their biggest test of the year. They figured it out before they got to
Did you watch the game?
I did not watch the game.
I watched the game last night. Martin and I got home, and I was surprised to find out the basketball game was starting at a time that we're not usually used to seeing it start. It started at like 10 o'clock at night, but
yeah, I was
that's
asleep.
Perfect for me. That's great because I have nothing else going on. And so that is the best time to watch a basketball game. And I was talking with my roommate Miles, and I did not believe in the USA team once they were down 15 in the first half. Martin, geez, their defense looked awful. Greg Popovich was not having those guys in the right spot. Their effort looked out of whack. There was like two possessions within like 3 minutes where they gave up a wide open layup. And it was just like, how does that happen? I said, they're losing this game. I was convinced. And then they proved me wrong.
It would have been
they went on a run from the end of the second quarter to the start, to like end of the third quarter. 28-4. 28-4. They not only erased their lead, they was at a 3-point game. I think it was 45-42 at halftime. And then before even the fourth quarter starts, it's a 20-point ball game. And then from there, it is over. But what I will say is that some guys on that Australian team looked really good. I was saying Dante Exum is probably going to get signed to a team just because of that performance.
So we'll cover more about the Olympics next week. We'll dive more into that. We haven't had a whole lot of
sports podcast, man.
We got to cover the Olympics. Not saying we don't care about the Olympics, but the Olympics go by that fast. It's only a 2-week event.
We will wrap it up.
Yeah.
When it's all done, we'll talk about it in its totality.
And my only opinion on the Olympics is I wish it was a month. I wish it wasn't like
Same.
Like 2 weeks. I feel like it's not enough. I don't feel like it respects the Olympics enough.
You can't see every sport.
Right.
Who's going to watch everything?
I want to watch it for a month. I want to watch I want to see it building.
I want to know when it's actually on.
That too. So I mean, we've had those situations with USA basketball. I remember what was it like? I think it was like 3 Olympics ago. They were like playing at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Like you would have to wake up at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to watch the USA men's basketball take on. And I don't think anybody was going to be that dedicated to watching a game at 3 o'clock in the morning.
No.
So let's cover NASCAR. Because of the Olympics, they've been on a 2-week break. They will be at Watkins Glen. Where's Watkins Glen, Jacob? It's a road course in New York, Upper New York, like Buffalo area, like, Niagara Falls type area up there. Cold. It'll be a summer day, so it won't be totally cold, but it'll be nice. It'll be breezy, a road course.
It'll be nice.
Chase Elliott, I think, will win the race because he's won there many times. It's been 2 years since they've been to the track due to COVID-19, so it's been a little bit of a break there. They will have the Truck Series. They will have the Xfinity Series on Saturday, and then they'll have the Cup Series on Sunday. It is going to be a fun one to watch. Let me get to the part 2 of my rant that I took off last week, and let's get to the second part.
All right.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
The one, the only, the rant.
Oh, you're about to go blasphemous.
Fighting a scorpion, and that is final.
Will you two shut up?
Oh my God, I don't care.
here.
You will when we're done talking about The Rant, here on the Coin Flip with Martin Kelly
and Jacob Zimmerman.
Welcome back to the Coin Flip Podcast. The Rant, part 2 of my own rant here about Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12. Now, if you didn't catch last week's the Coin Flip Podcast, episode number 44, and did not listen to my rant, go listen to the rant. I got a couple comments from friends of mine and family. They said they loved that rant. They thought the podcast was awesome. Keep doing that type of style. So I appreciate that to everybody who sent me those texts, and I appreciate all the love. Now, where I left off last week was Alabama in the last 13 years, Jacob. 8 times they've been in the national championship game, and they've won that 6 times. 6-2 in national championship games. They could be 8-0 in national championship games. That is ridiculous. Now, why does this tie to Texas, to Oklahoma? Well, if you didn't hear the news, Texas and Oklahoma are trying to leave the Big 12 to go join the SEC to upgrade their football programs. And mainly, this is the part 2 of this entire podcast, Jacob, mainly to pocket their own money and bring in more money to the schools. Now, Jacob, I'll give you a good example on why that might be a good thing in the long run, but the short term, you're going to have to sacrifice some truthness about your team, okay? Let me give you an example, Jacob. Dixie State, our own school. It's going to be called Utah Tech and everything around that. Dixie State name change. Wherever you stand on that line, you stand on that line. Stand on that line. I respect that enough. I stand on my own line. Please respect that. That's all I ask. Okay, but since we're joining the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference, we have new members of the WAC. Southern Utah is in Cedar City. We have Utah Valley. We have Utah. We have Weber State in this conference. We're gonna go up and play Utah. We're gonna go up and play BYU. We're gonna play Utah State pretty soon. We're talking to that team. I'm trying to play some games all over the place, and we also are gonna go play some Texas teams. Now, where I'm getting to this is regional football makes football fun, and regional sports in itself makes it fun, Jacob, because playing against guys that you know that are in the same state, and you got to go match up with them on another night, and you're representing a different part of the state, and got to go represent that part of the state in another part of the state to win that game, so your representation of that part of the state is respected enough that you're not laughed at because you guys can't beat the other part of the state, matters. Now, where does this all come back to Texas and Oklahoma? Texas and Oklahoma rather pass off regional football, playing against teams in Texas, playing against teams in Oklahoma, playing against teams in Missouri, Kansas, wherever the Big 12 goes after this, which is more like the Big 8 at this point, because they don't have enough teams to call themselves the Big 12, which I don't know why they keep calling themselves the Big 12, or like the Big 10 with like 16 teams and they're called the Big 10. I don't know why. Maybe.
Who knows?
Pac-12, they were Pac-14 at one point, and then they were the Pac-10, and then the ACC doesn't have any of that, and the SEC are just acronyms for their own names. So my point is, going off here on this one, it's just regional football is better. Playing against guys that you know in different parts of the state, you got to represent that part of the state against somebody else, like high school football. It's like playing against that rival high school football team. That game matters more than winning the state championship game because the rivalries matter. They matter in college football. They matter in college basketball. They matter in other sports because that sells your brand. That sells your own accomplishments as a team because you can grab local kids. Alabama's recruiting 5-star athletes out of every state in the United States. They probably got 5-star athletes from Alaska that play football, man. They got everybody.
A single 5-star football recruit from Alaska.
They got a 5-star recruit. They got 2 of them from Hawaii, the Tua Tagovailoa brothers. Okay, both of those came from Hawaii to Southern Alabama to play college football and to win national championships. Like, the point is, if you stay in the Big 12 and rebuild the Big 12 and try to bring regional football back and make it competitive and make it actually a conference that people want to join instead of worrying about the money. The money will come later. Make good football. Make a good product and people will buy it. If you make a bad product, who's going to buy it?
All I know is that they just signed up to never win a national championship.
They won't. How are you going to compete in the SEC?
Exactly. Their only path was through where they were. That was the only path.
And the problem with that is because of the college football playoffs, there's only 3 major berths that are guaranteed into that. The SEC, the ACC, and the SEC number 2, and then Notre Dame. There's the only 4 teams that ever get into the college football playoffs. If a Pac-12 team or a Big 12 team gets in there, they get smacked around in the first round by everybody, and they don't have a chance to win that game. It's annoying. Okay, Texas, Oklahoma, please stay in the Big 12. Just stay in the Big 12. Stay and make the Big 12 better. It can be better. There's been a history of good football from the Big 8, from the old SWC, and good football. There's just good football. Make it competitive and make it better. That's my rant.
I hear you, my man. Episode 45 of the Coin Flip Podcast.
Yep.
It's hitting the books here in a sec, but Martin, another good one as always.
Another good one. That's Jacob. I'm Martin. Keep listening to the Coin Flip Podcast, episode number 45. Jacob, you'll have the rant next week and the week after that. I'll give you a couple rants because I've been on rants for 3 weeks. I think it's been 3 weeks.
You go on rants every time on this show. Let's be real.
So you get a few rants there. Give me a break or two there. But Coin Flip Podcast, episode number 45. This will be immediately updated and podcasted. That's Jacob. I'm Martin. Y'all have a good one. Peace.
Peace.